me to click record. So I think we're all here. So welcome. I'm going to start sharing my screen. And I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. We're going to just do a really quick opener. This is going to be popcorn style, which means we don't have time for everybody to respond. So just if 2 or 3 of you just answer at will. This evening's question is, I was at my family's farm this weekend, and there are so many songbirds nesting and singing in the trees. It's wonderful. So my question is, do you have a favorite bird, and what is it?
I like the hummingbird. That's my favorite bird.
Awesome.
I like the look of blue jays, but they sound irritating.
Right.
I like corvid birds, but I really enjoy my chickens and their dynamics.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We have Erica Kale with us. She's going to be presenting at about 6:10, but she joined us for the intro as well. So I wanted to spend the first 10 minutes just giving you all a few minutes for questions, talking through some of the readings that we've done. We've moved really quickly through the first sessions, and I thought it might help to just have just a minute to pause and recap. And then also I have some of the social media posts that you all created. So do any of you have any burning questions that you've been wanting to bring up related to the readings and activities and speakers? Last week we had a social media presentation from Simone Y at Red River Market. And then we talked about understanding your audience, which Erica will cover more in depth tonight as well. Did any of you have questions about the data that I shared with you about understanding your audience, specifically the customer survey data from last year? Okay. And then I just wanted to point out that last week, FAME had requested information about rapid market assessments, and that has been added to your spreadsheet. So in column G, other readings and resources, there is some information from North Dakota. 2010 and 2011, they did a market exploration study, but they also did a rapid market assessment in 2010. So there's a report there. And then there is a guide from Oregon State University. There was also a request for more information about local food systems. So I've shared with you the reading list from the Sustainable Ag Interns, because there are a lot of readings in that list, as well as information about our own North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance. And then on a national level, the National Good Food Network from the Wallace Foundation has a ton of resources about food hubs, food systems, and all things local food related. Okay, so gonna make sure I'm sharing the right, great. So last week we talked about Canva and just covered the basics briefly. And I asked you to make a social media post just to try out Canva, just to give you an activity to try it out. So I'm going to show you a couple of the social media posts that Felicity at Red River Market and Shelby created. And I have to switch the display settings. There. So do you see Shelby's red apple post? Yes? Okay. Shelby, did you want to share anything about the social posts that you've been creating?
I guess like our Facebook and stuff is kind of like not like people like visuals, I guess, and we don't really have a lot of that on there. So I wanted to like make like simple things like this to put along with like more of like a caption or whatever. So I thought it was just like clean and simple and like people could read it quickly and still kind of get the message across even if they didn't want to read the whole post. And I used Canva and it was like really simple and yeah.
And you made a second post that was animated?
Yeah.
Great. And I saw this one on the Facebook page.
Yes.
And Felicity, I don't think is with us. Nope. But here are some posts that she made for Red River Market. So they're doing a market meal challenge campaign where they're encouraging customers to create a meal with produce that they got at the farmer's market and then Instagram it. So she is creating a series of posts for that. So here's the first one. And it's got, so she's featuring images from the market. In her case, Red River Market does have a photographer that they work with. So that's, you know, she's able to have nice photos that have the totes and local produce. But it looks like she also used some stock photos, which is great. Okay. So I think I'm ready to turn it over to you, Erica, unless there are any last questions about social media or Canva. Okay. So Erica is with us from Kale Social Company, and it looked like most or all of you did watch the video of her Lunch and Learn. So you've seen a little bit of Erica in action, and we're really thrilled that she is going to be with us for 3 sessions on social media. Last year we learned that social media is one of the most effective ways to reach farmers market customers. So Erica is here to help us do social media even better.
Awesome. Hi guys, I'm Erica. You saw my video. I went back and rewatched a little bit of it to remember what I said and I was like, oh boy. Don't love rewatching myself, but anyways, today we're gonna go over talking about your audience again, and then creating a social media content calendar. I specialize in consulting with small businesses on how to kind of grasp everything they have and turn it into an action plan for social media, because a lot of small businesses struggle with all the moving parts, as I'm sure you guys are learning with the Red River Market. There's a lot that you have to do, and social media is just one piece of the puzzle. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks today for kind of dissecting that into something a little bit more manageable. So to start off with, why is social media marketing so important, especially for farmers markets? One reason is for validating your brand. So you can use social media as kind of like a portfolio to show people everything you have to offer. Somebody that's in the millennial or Gen Z generation really likes to scope out things before they actually go to things. So using social media to communicate all the things you guys have going on is a really great way to make them comfortable before they actually go to the event. And then another great thing about social media marketing is to build customer relationships, obviously. Connection is way more possible via social media channels than it is via having a website or billboard marketing or anything. So those are two main focuses that I think you guys should keep in mind when you're creating content for social media. You really want to validate your brand, represent the farmers market and all it has to offer, and you really want to connect with people. So I sent out those kind of worksheets. Those are going to be kind of a guide for what we're talking about today. And you can fill them in as you know the information, but I also think that you should go to your advisors or other people in the organization and get their responses to some of these questions as well, because that's going to give you more information to build off of when you start creating posts. So the very first thing I like to sit down and talk with people about is creating a goal for your social media. Because that's something that you guys are focusing on primarily for marketing, you're probably going to have a lot of different goals, but having one goal, like I mentioned in my Lunch and Learn, is really important so you know when you're succeeding, or so you know that you're going the right direction that the farmers market wants you to go with your posts. So usually there's like 5 main goals that people look at. There's sales, direct sales from social media, there's public relations, there's awareness, there's reputation, and there's recruitment. So basically what that means is if you guys are going to choose one out of those things or something else, and that's going to be a focus. So for awareness, for example, that usually means if people want to grow their followers, they have awareness as a goal. So you're going to tailor your strategy and your post around that idea of growing followers and spreading the word. So one way that might look like is partnering with a lot of local businesses that have, or a lot of local influencers that already have big audiences that will share your brand or share your page or share a post so that their audience has the potential to see it and follow you. So that's one way. If you have awareness as a goal, you're kind of doing that strategy over and over to create success for that goal. Another popular one is recruitment. So you guys have farmers markets, which means you guys have vendors. So recruitment is probably a goal you guys have like in January, February, and March, or maybe throughout the whole year. And what that would look like is you guys would probably be promoting a lot about the benefits of being a vendor, about what a vendor does, like what it looks like, how they become a vendor, things like that. So I think that probably makes sense to all of you. So are there any goals that you guys have off the top of your mind that you think you guys have as a goal? I would really love to know, so that as I'm going through all this, I can kind of give you guys real information and tips for these things. So what do you guys think your goals are for your social media strategy?
Hi, this is Michelle. I'm interning with BizMarket. One of our goals is to increase our Instagram presence. We have a pretty strong Facebook presence right now, and so we'd like to be able to translate or at least tap into Instagram more. Thank you.
Okay, good to know. I'd love to know what the Red River Market goal is. Do you know? Do you have an idea?
I don't think Felicity isn't with us tonight, and she's the intern at Red River Market.
Okay.
So
I see their stuff the most, so I just probably would actually be able to like track what they're doing the most.
Right.
What about you other guys? Do you have any ideas? Come on, give me something to work with here. Shall we? Any ideas? Just say something. I'd love to have an idea.
I think that we probably would want to work on awareness as well. Just like being more present on social media.
Yeah, do you feel like you guys want to grow like your followers? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Like, I think we also just recently created an Instagram like last year, so like there's not much on there. But like our Facebook does have like quite a bit of likes, so but like we're not like consistent with posting, so just like creating a plan and like making it consistent. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of you are probably kind of starting from just the building stage of like you kind of just want to get to a level where you have all the pieces in place. So that's kind of good to know because I can give you more tips geared towards maybe building them instead of sales, direct sales or whatever. So we'll move on to the next thing then. You guys can kind of write down, or again, go ahead and ask your advisors what their social media goal is, because then you're going to know what to pursue for posts and things like that and what you can do to make sure that you're on the right track. So the next thing is your organization's mission statement. So you can probably find this on your website or whatever, but I kind of just want you guys to write this down into the mission statement area because this whole worksheet is going to be kind of like a guide, like I said, so you can look back on it. But combining your social media goal with your organization's mission statement is how you're going to know that you're creating posts and creating content that has the right message and that is reaching the right people. So go ahead and write in your guys' mission statement if you know it, or ask in the company or look for it online so that you can kind of combine that knowledge of what your mission statement is into the rest of what we're going to be talking about. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so that was a quick little overall view of understanding kind of the why behind stuff. And then we'll jump into talking about audiences. So when it comes to social media marketing, understanding your audience is really important because you want your information to like reach somebody. You want somebody to see it and be like, oh, that relates to me. You want somebody to see it and not just think it's like a billboard, right? The whole point is to connect with people. So things like asking questions, things like having really targeted ideas and information is really important. So when you're creating customer profiles, what you want to do is you want to create a couple different people that you have seen come to your farmers markets and write that person down in your notes as who they are and what their look-like audience would be. So to explain that a little bit more, think of a person, what is their gender, what is their age, what are their interests, and then predict why they're coming to the farmers market. So I have a couple examples in my mind that I don't know if are 100% accurate, but I'll give you an example so you can kind of build off of it. But somebody I would assume goes to a farmer market, or you have that information you sent out, so you can build off of there. Something I kind of saw from there was somebody who is a woman who's 50 years old. Her interests are probably supporting local, like it said on there, shopping small, supporting her neighbors. She maybe knows people that are vendors at the farmer's market. She probably goes there to buy ingredients that she knows she already has recipes for, right? So she's gonna go and pick up specific products for things that she already knows what she's gonna make with them. Another audience person would be somebody like me, because I go to the farmer's market here. So somebody who's like a woman who's like 25 years old. I go for the experience. It's something to do on a Saturday. I love the music. I grab whatever food is a food truck there. I like the ice cream or the coffee pop-up shops. And then I'll maybe grab some vegetables, but I have no idea what I'm gonna do with them. Like I eat a lot of vegetables because I'm partially vegan, but I like don't know what I'm gonna do with them. So knowing that those two people are a part of your audience, you're obviously gonna talk to them differently, right? So the older lady who already knows what she's gonna do, who wants to support local, maybe something that would really get her attention is putting out content that is like recipes from your vendors. So like giving them an idea, they love cooking, giving them an idea of what to do with the vegetables, that gives them even more of a reason to go and buy that from that specific vendor, make that recipe, etc. Somebody like me, what I would probably enjoy seeing promoted more is the music or the coffee pop-up shop or something that's more experiential, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss it this Saturday because this Saturday they're doing this. So having those different audience members based off of people that you know are coming to your market can help you create posts specifically for them and content specifically for them. So I don't know if you guys have kind of a wide variety of audience members like Fargo does, because I know that we have kind of all sorts of people. What do you guys think? Do you have an idea of like if you have a lot of variety or if there's maybe just a couple of people that you're aiming towards? Do you have any feedback for me on that?
And some of their markets haven't started yet,
Okay.
but Michelle's has, and FARRMS has.
That's good to know, because if you haven't had a market yet and you don't know, this is also just good to ask anybody else in the organization then of who they think comes, or to like just look at the demographic data and stuff like that, or to pick out a couple of different examples, put them in, try to create content for them and see what is being picked up the most. So I would definitely recommend filling out a couple of those, or maybe one or two is enough depending on where you're at. I think if you're probably in a smaller town, maybe there isn't as variety of people. So fill that out and that'll help moving forward as well. And then I'll move on to content calendar. I'm not giving you guys a ton of time to fill this out, so let me know if you have any questions or want me to slow down. I kind of want to make it through this worksheet, and then I looked at all of your guys' Instagrams, and then we can kind of talk about them, or I looked at all your channels or whatever, and we can talk about them a little bit more. So, a content calendar. I sent you guys all a little calendar because I just use Google Docs or pen and paper when I'm creating my very basic content calendar. It doesn't have to be complicated. I would recommend using something that you already have available. So maybe you're already using a planner or you love Google or whatever. Make it as easy as possible, because sometimes people create this big work to do thing with social media and then it makes it impossible to actually fulfill it. So speaking on that, you should probably figure out how often and when you're going to be posting. So basically, how many days a week do you guys think you're going to be posting? And I would love to know this number specifically, because this is really important for how much content you need to be creating for social media. So do you guys know how often a week you're going to be posting?
Hey, this is Michelle. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'd really like to get a schedule down that's efficient. And I just don't even know where to start with that.
Don't even know? Okay.
At Biz Market right now, we're aiming for 3 times a week, and that 3 times a week is really based off of our staffing and volunteer hours.
Okay, perfect. That's good to know.
At FARRMS, we were posting maybe twice a week, and we're trying to increase that to daily if possible.
Okay.
But that's going to require some careful scheduling.
Yeah, so for my business, I only post 2 times a week. And for people, I recommend usually 2 to 3 times a week, unless they're very familiar or already have a lot of content to post, because it can be very hard to come up with so much content to post every single day of the week. So for you guys, if you really just don't know where to start, I would highly recommend starting at 2 or 3 times a week. If you're looking for kind of an answer, that's the answer I would give you. I post on Tuesdays and Thursdays because they're kind of middle of the week times. My audience is business people or people that own businesses, so they're usually going to be checking Instagram more during the week when they're on there for their own businesses. So that's why I choose to post between 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's kind of like a little feedback on why I do mine. I know that if you have a farmer's market on a Saturday, you would definitely want to post on that day. You definitely want to choose your posting days as one of them at least being one of your farmers market days. I don't know if you guys all have just one day farmers markets or multiple days a week.
They're all one day except for mine at Farmers Market with Shelby, which is 3 days, Shelby?
Yes. Okay. So I wouldn't say that you would have to post all 3 days, Shelby. I would just choose one day that you know for sure you're going to post. And then the rest of you, I would definitely choose that as one of your days. And then maybe choose 1 or 2 additional days. And it doesn't have to have a reasoning behind it. I would recommend choosing something that fits into your schedule as an intern. So I don't know when you guys are putting in hours, but definitely fit it into your already existing schedule of when you're working. preferably, just because you don't need to go and just do it randomly. I think that a lot of people look at analytics for when they're supposed to be posting, but like I wouldn't recommend posting at midnight, but I definitely think that playing around with when you're posting, you could try a lot of different times, but for you guys who are just interns for the summer, I would just say choose 2 or 3 days, choose a time, say at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, 10 a.m. on a Saturday are my 2 days, and then maybe if I get to it, I'm gonna do 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, right? So choose days, choose times, and put them in your schedule because that'll help you make sure that you're actually getting to it. And then also when we look at the calendar a little bit later, you're gonna understand why it's important to have like a schedule like that so that you're meeting it. So when you're thinking about what to post, there's just so much, or maybe you have no idea what to post. I recommend creating segments or content calendar or content categories for your farmers market. Okay, so what that means is you're looking at your overall business or organization and you're picking out the things that are at high tier level of what you could talk about. So one of those things would maybe just be an about. So this is when you look at the sheet, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, not the A, B, C, D, ignore that for now, but the 1, 2, 3, 4. So I gave you guys 4 slots to kind of put in segments. So one of the segments could be an about segment. One of the segments could be a vendor segment. One of the segments could be COVID safety. I know Red River Market's focusing on that. Maybe you guys are as well. One of the segments could be special events. And the reason you're choosing kind of those higher level segments is because you can look at them and underneath them, you can make multiple posts about that entire category of things. And that's gonna make it really easy on you guys when you're sitting down to post something. You can look at your segments and say like, well, what haven't I said about, or what haven't I said about a vendor yet? So things like that. So I definitely would recommend one of your 4 segments being vendor, of course, because I think it's important to share what farmers or what vendors you have at your events. I think one of your segments or categories should definitely be about, because I think that people following your page are gonna wanna hear information of the when and the why and the what you guys are kind of frequently. And then the other 2, it depends on what you guys have going on at your farmers market. So one of them could be performers. If you guys have weekly performers or performers throughout the summer, that could be a segment because you know you're gonna wanna share that information, share who's performing, share when they're performing, share anything about them. Maybe you guys are in a really hard to find location, if that's something one of you guys struggle with, or you move. I know one of you was a traveling farmers market, I think. So one of your segments and categories could be all about location because you know that people find it hard to find you. So you're gonna wanna keep reminding them like, this is where we're at, this is how you find us, this is where parking is. So this like one segment can just turn into a bunch of different information that you can give people. My overall strategy with social media is usually to inform, because ultimately you want people to want to come for the experience, but you want people to know kind of what they're coming for, why they're coming. I think a big problem with small businesses on social media is they never put those kind of specific information. So I personally, maybe this is just a me thing, but whenever I want to go to a coffee shop and I have no idea what their hours are, I have to dig through posts and I have to look, and then I'm like, where are their freaking hours, especially on holidays? So I always tell people to think about those things, like think about what information somebody's looking for, because social media is a great way to give it to them. So then they don't have to like dig through the website or through Googling it, because by them digging, they might just give up, right? So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to find the information that they're looking for. So that's why I recommend about as one of your overall categories, because just kind of repeating the information that people are going to need to know. And that's also why I recommend your farmers market day being one of your posting days, because I think that a good strategy for you guys would be to use that day as a day to post a picture of the farmers market and say, hey, we're open today 10 to 2, like come join us, we have this live music. You know, inform, tell people what's going on that day, what they can expect that day, what they're looking at, and etc. So other things that you guys could do for categories. I don't know, do you guys have any other ones outside of what I said that maybe pop into your head?
I would say the vendor category is really important because they will reshare, and their friends and family will reshare. Most of the markets unfortunately aren't able to do performers and some of the extra stuff this season because of COVID-19. But you know, COVID-19 information.
Another thing I would recommend if you're kind of struggling because you don't have as much as you usually have going on is to go back to that idea I talked about with like sharing recipes, or think of like something else that could really benefit your followers and also support them wanting to come to the farmers market as one of your categories, because it's kind of like a win-win. If somebody sees a recipe, they bookmark it, they go back to it, they try to make it, they're remembering that you gave them that information. Maybe you could go to each of your vendors and see if they have any recipes that they recommend, and you could tag your vendor in the recipe post, and then they would maybe share it. Kind of thinking of ideas like that, that kind of wraps in sharing as much information about your vendors as you can, because I think at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, you really want people to go support your vendors, right? You want to kind of share their pages as well if they have them, and their products if they have like a way to buy them online or whatever. So yeah, so that's kind of how I recommend to do the segments and categories section of this worksheet. Think of overarching ideas that you can put, and then underneath each idea, put like 4 things you could talk about. I think some people complicate the idea of, well, I can only talk about my organization once, but that's not true at all. You could say so much about your organization. You could probably post every single week about your organization, and you could talk about why your organization was formed. You could talk about who the sponsors of your organization are. You could talk about, you know, any little thing, who the staff on the organization is, especially when it comes to people like that. People love to see posts about other people. So sharing pictures of your vendors, of the staff, of your buyers, of people that are coming to the farmers market, those will always perform really, really well, because people just love to see other people on social media. It's kind of that human component to it. So when you have your about section as an overall category, think of that. If you have vendor as an overall category, maybe one thing you're going to want to plan for your social media calendar is to go to every single vendor you have, either one day, just do it all at once, or throughout the summer, and ask them like 3 main questions that you could like put into a post. So ask them who they are, if they have social media channels, and then ask them like, how long have you been farming, or how long have you been a market vendor for us? Or ask them like if they have any specific types of products, like what's your favorite thing you sell? Or think of like 3 questions you can ask every single vendor you have, and then when you post about them, you could say, hey, meet Julie and Mark. They own this farm. And then you could just like do little paragraphs about them. And then you're telling their story, and people love stories and people love people. So you're really doing a win-win there with something like that. And that could create a post for you again every single week if you have enough vendors. So when you look at that calendar I sent you, I'm going to show you an example of kind of how I fill it out. So this is sort of how I fill it out. I chose Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays is what I would probably do. And then I put the overarching category or topic in each day. So on those Saturdays, I put event day, which means every event day, what I would do is I would take that picture, like I said to you guys, and just say like, we're open today, this time. Maybe do a couple of pictures that they could scroll through and like just show vendors that are there in real time so they know who to expect to see. And then on Thursdays, what I did was a vendor highlight, because what I would do is I would go around each vendor, like I said, grab a picture of them, ask them questions, and then you have a post for every Thursday. And then on Tuesdays, I kind of mixed it up between the about category and the special event category if you had one or whatever. So when you look at it like this, it's really not that much content. It's just kind of picking out what you're going to do and pulling that idea throughout the whole summer. Especially if you're only doing 2 days, that's only like 8 posts a month. So you can really get that content really fast. And you can make it a lot easier on yourself by doing it all at once as well. That's another little tip I have for you is maybe the first farmer's market you have, if you haven't had one yet, or one farmer's market you have, make that the day where you go around and you get pictures of all your vendors, or you get pictures of just a bunch of different things, so that when you're making these posts on Tuesdays and Thursdays when there isn't a farmer's market, you can pull from the pictures you have, and then you can write the caption underneath it of the about the farmer's market or whatever it is you're talking about. I know you guys probably have a lot of other things that you're assisting with. during the day of the farmers market. So just kind of think of what would fit into your schedule and base it all off of that. So yeah, that is kind of how I organize my content calendars and how I recommend clients to organize your content calendars, because when you look at it zoomed out like that, it's not as stressful, and you also know as the day's coming what you're going to need for it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Fame has a question in the chat box. Fame, would you like to ask your question?
Any pointers?
Yeah, I was just wondering about pointers. I don't know how my mic is picking up, but I have a loud background as well. And then you did answer a couple of those already.
So for getting to know your vendors, it's hard for young people to talk to people. I am one of them. But if you go up to them with a clipboard and a notebook and paper and say, hi, I'm doing vendor interviews today. Can you just answer these questions for me real quick? Do you have time for a picture? Just make it simple, make it easy. Go to each person. It's not as awkward if you do it all at once. And then as far as like, yeah, good questions to ask vendors, kind of what I already said, maybe ask them for that recipe thing. Ask them what their favorite produce is. Ask them how long the farm has been in their family, maybe. Or the business has been in their family. You could ask them if it's a generational thing, any story-like component to it. Sorry, everyone's frozen. Am I frozen?
You're not frozen, no.
Everybody else froze.
I have everyone's Facebook pages up on my screen, and BizMarket, it wasn't a vendor post. They started highlighting their market board of directors members. Mm-hmm. So when you have time to look at those, there's a good example of highlighting. And I can tell that whoever created that post was asking board members some specific questions.
Yeah, sharing any sponsors or board members or staff members, again, like I said, is always really good content as well. People love to see the people behind the scenes for markets. Just a little like, get to know this person. And how I do captions, a little more information on that for you guys is I like to do captions. Maybe if you all watched that video, I talked about the caption formula. But I like to do captions where the first line is really something simple and striking and attention grabbing enough that relates to the picture, where somebody scrolling by, if they read the first line, good enough, but it's intriguing enough so that they want to click see more. So if it's a picture of carrots or whatever, you could say like, these are the best carrots around, exclamation point, and then like read more, and you could say like, these carrots are grown by this person, grab them for this price at the market this time, you know, like just inform with the rest of your caption. You can do spacing and stuff. If you look at my Instagram, I do like 3 paragraphs every time, and I do like double spacing between them, just so it's really digestible. If you do a block paragraph in Instagram or Facebook, it kind of feels like a lot to read for people, but for some reason, if you do the same amount of sentences, but you put a space between them, it doesn't feel like as much to read for people, or it's easier to skim. So I do recommend that if you're planning on putting a lot of information into your post, kind of space it out. And also, yeah, use your post to kind of get in as much information as possible when it comes to like who the vendor is or what time you're open or whatever it may be, because a lot of people that follow you, only like 1 to 5% will see a given post. So putting out the same information over and over is kind of important for people to actually get that information, because different people are seeing different posts constantly. So you could repost the same thing theoretically like 3 times over 3 weeks, and a bunch of different people could be seeing that post and saw it the first time. So keep that in mind. Don't kind of feel like you're being too repetitive, because honestly, like the same people aren't necessarily seeing it over and over, and you want as many people to know like when or what you're doing as possible. So keep that in mind. I had another tip for, oh yeah, if you guys are creating Facebook events, I definitely think that's a great way, because some people look specifically at events on Facebook to see what's going on around them. So create a Facebook event if you guys have Facebook and use Facebook. I think that's a great idea. One tip I have if you do Facebook events is to post in the event the day of and say, we're opening in 1 hour. That is a huge game changer because it reminds people, they get a notification and it reminds people that they wanted to go to it if they hit like going or interested. So that's another little tip I would put if you guys do Facebook events is like that post of just like, we're opening in an hour, and maybe a picture. And it could be honestly the same picture you're posting to Instagram. Like if you're posting a picture of the market to Instagram, post it also in the Facebook group and post it also on Facebook. I don't think that you have to post different things across all platforms for where you guys are at right now. I think just post all the same things across all the platforms because for a farmer's market, yeah, your audience is going to be a little different between like Instagram and Facebook, but I don't think it's different enough that like people on Instagram wouldn't like a recipe, you know? So that's my advice there as well. And then
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with Facebook events, since these are all farmers markets with like a recurring market day, is it redundant to also create a Facebook event that's like Red River Market is open on Saturdays, you know, 8 to 2 p.m. and make that a recurring event, even though there's already a Red River Market page with the open hours in the About section?
Yeah, I think that Facebook events, having an event for a specific upcoming thing gives people different notifications and kind of pops up in people's mind differently than if you just have a page. And I think that you could theoretically create that event weekly for the event that's happening, if that makes sense. So you don't have to make like 20 events so that they all 20 show up. I think that you could, so that people are getting the notification and like being reminded that it's a thing and that they want to go to it in their event section. You could create them 1 to 2 weeks out so that there's only a couple on your page. Maybe in the description section of the event, you'll say like, oh, it's happening all summer, but you only have a Facebook event. The whole goal of that is kind of like not gaming the system, but it's like reminding people that it's happening is kind of the point of making an event, if that makes sense. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I think you can create a recurring event, right? So it just shows that it's one event that's weekly at the same time.
Yes, you can create a recurring event. I guess I don't know like notification why the pros and cons of it. So if it's just easier to make the recurring event, maybe that's what you should do and just post in it the day of the event whenever the event comes up. I'm not sure how that works, but yeah.
For Bismarck, we do have a recurring event, and one of the advantages of having a recurring event is that when someone is interested or going to an event, it only marks it for that one event. And so something that I like to do, for example, is say that I'm going or interested in multiple events, and that way my friends get multiple notifications that I'm interested in this event.
Mm-hmm. Cool, that's good to know.
Additionally, someone was mentioning with the towns for farmers market today that North Dakota Tourism asked for an event page and they would repost it as well.
Yeah, I think one thing you can do with social media is reach out to the people in your town or city that have audiences that could share your event page or share your Instagram or share a post and ask them, because they're not going to know or know to remember to do it unless you say like, hey, would you mind sharing this to our city page, or would you mind sharing this? I think your audience would be interested in this, or your followers or whatever would be interested in this. So that's a part of it too, is like, maybe like every once in a while, remember to sit down, look at who's in your community that you could partner with or ask to share your content, because that's one way to grow. And that's also one thing, like a lot of people aren't like afraid to do that. They're not like put off if you ask them to share your page or share a post, like they totally get it. So reaching out to people to do that is a really good strategy as well. Especially small businesses and community members, they want to support you too, because it helps them out as well. Okay, so I had a couple of tips for when I was just looking through everybody's pages and things that are kind of just blanket tips. So I'll kind of give them to you guys in case you're looking for, more direction. So One tip I had was you guys, a lot of you have websites that already have a lot of good imagery on them or information on them. Don't be afraid to scour your own websites and download those images, screenshot those images and pull that information and just turn it into posts for social media. That's a really easy way to use content you already have, especially on like Facebook. You can pull it, you can screenshot even your website page, put the link and say like, oh, find out more about our vendors on our vendor page, etc. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't have any pictures, but if you look at your website, you might already have quite a few pictures. You can just use those. That kind of goes back to don't be afraid to scroll back to 2018 and pull pictures that were posted then, because nobody's gonna remember or really realize that you're posting old pictures. So don't be afraid to do that either. Go to your vendors' websites if they have them for pictures as well. A lot of your vendors, maybe some of them have had professional photo shoots or just have cool pictures of them or have pictures of their food. So maybe one day sit down and pull up all your vendor sites that are available, all their social medias, and just download your favorite pictures that kind of go with your Instagram and use that content as well. Because a lot of vendors, like, they're not going to care if you post their picture, tag them in the picture, share who they are in the picture, post or whatever. So that's a tip.
You might let the vendor know you're going to do that.
Yeah, you could definitely reach out to them. For social media personally, a lot of times I find that the etiquette is, if they tag you in a post, I don't ask people because they're tagging you for a reason and a lot of people don't care. If you're pulling a picture from a vendor website and you're a community organization that's promoting that vendor, a lot of times I actually wouldn't ask personally, just because. So I worked for the Downtown Community Partnership, which supported a lot of small businesses downtown, and pulling pictures from their websites to promote their business wasn't really something anybody would ever have a problem with. But if you guys are more comfortable asking and making sure that's totally like, do what's good for you, and maybe even when you ask, say, hey, we wanted to post these pictures from you, could you answer these questions? So it's another chance to tie in kind of both things at once. And then as far as social media, Facebook and Instagram come, stories are really big right now. A lot of people focus on watching stories throughout the day and not even scrolling through their feeds. So I could give you some more information on what stories to do. And when you think of stories, just pull the concepts you have out into like 5 to 10 story posts. So if you're sharing about a vendor, you could take a couple of pictures. You could show, one is like, meet this person, and it's a picture of them. This is their farm. It's a picture of their farm that you found online, or a picture of their vendor booth, and then do a close-up of their food. Like, kind of pull out the one concept and just make it into a couple of different slides of the same person. And you could do a whole entire vendor highlight of one vendor you have one day, one farmer's market day or whatever, one Tuesday. That's what I do for stories. I usually kind of pull one concept, one story idea, and I just pull out all the information across 5 to 10 slides about that thing. So I don't know if you guys have questions about that, but that's kind of just how I do that.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned that for stories you put 5 to 10 slides. What is too little or too much when doing a multi-slide Instagram story?
Yeah, I would recommend doing at least 3 to actually get information out there, and put as little information per slide as possible, because people aren't going to read a huge paragraph on one slide usually. So usually I would say like too little. Maybe there's not too little, but like if you're going to do just a concept, do like 3 out of the same concept is kind of what I would recommend. And then too much, personally, just like from my own user experience, if it's over 10 slides or 15, I would just skip the whole thing because it just seems like a lot. So I do recommend people keeping it to 10 to 15 so it's digestible, because the whole thing with social media is people have very short attention spans and they're only going to hold on to something for so long. They're only going to like click through something for so long. So keeping it kind of short but getting your message across really strongly, I think works better than having like 30 slides and then people either get sick of it or they're just getting so much information they're maybe not even holding on to something. So that's what I recommend there. And then another thing Oh yeah, definitely. Another thing I'd recommend, sorry, this is just a lot of recommendations. Take from it whatever makes sense for you guys and whatever you have time for. But another thing I would recommend is story highlights, especially for your farmers market, because when somebody goes to an Instagram page, and this is Instagram only, or however, you could make an album on Facebook that's like the same idea. But when people go to an Instagram page, like I mentioned before, they're kind of looking for as much information just from the first snapshot as possible. So having a highlight gives you a chance to have a highlight that's about, and then they can click on that about and get all the information, when, where, why, everything they need to know about your farmer's market. You could have a highlight that is vendor, and then they could click through when they're like, oh, I wonder who's at the farmer's market. And they could click through all your vendor stories, because you can just save your stories as highlights. And then you could have one for sponsors, which is a great way to kind of get those shares. If you highlight a vendor, if you make a story about a vendor sponsor, a sponsor, you're tagging them in the story, you're saving them in your highlight. People could look at all the sponsors and they're probably going to share the story as well. So that's kind of a way to kind of think of the ways you can cross-pollinate all the things. So yes.
We have a question about if you have any guidance about posting videos. Is there a good length to keep engagement to the end?
Posting videos to the feed or posting videos to Instagram? I guess like if you're doing Instagram, they divide into slides if you do Instagram, and I would still stick with like 5 to 10 on that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but if you upload a video to stories, sorry, I don't know if I said that. So if you upload a video to stories, it'll divide it out. 5 to 10 is where I would go with that. To Instagram feed post, they have a shortened time. You're probably asking Facebook, I'm now realizing. Okay, Facebook videos. It depends on the content. If you're just doing a quick little like, here's what's at the farmer's market today, and you're like kind of just zooming around, I would do like a minute or less. If you're doing like a vendor interview, that's kind of more content that people would want to sit and listen to. So that could be like a 3 to 5 minute video. I don't know if there's something specific you had in mind. Did you have like an idea in mind? Let me know, because I could maybe give more guidance if I knew like the concept you were thinking of for video.
It was a question from Fame, and she said it's kind of noisy. So, oh.
No, that answered the question I was thinking about. Sorry, now my dog's here. Another thing that we were wanting to look into was creating a public service announcement that could help guide people to our market in a different way. We were looking to engage with a new mayor, sort of things like that, that would, you know, just help engage the wider community as well.
Mm. Yeah, video format for those things.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had any pointers on video. We haven't done anything yet, and we were just talking about it, but.
Yeah, I would say that all social media platforms, shorter video is still good if it's on like social media. If you want to make a YouTube channel and do more like longer format and share that to Facebook, that's kind of more understandable for people if it's like an hour-long video. I do want to say that live videos are pretty popular, kind of depending. It's something to try. Right now, I work at Kindred People, and we do a live video every Thursday. From 7 to 8, is it? So they hop on and they show new styles in the store. So it's an hour-long live, and people can comment, and we interact with the comments. People ask questions like, oh, what size is that, etc. But we make a Facebook event for the live, so people come to the live and know it's happening every week. We make an event for it every week, and we partner with a small business every week. So if you guys were to do any sort of live format, I would say the success with live is make it reoccurring as possible. So if you're gonna go live every single farmer's market for the first 10 minutes you're open and just kind of walk around and show people, that's how you could have success with a live video, is kind of what I would say, by just making it as like routine as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. One other tip I have for you guys was to go through your tagged posts and 100% share your tagged posts, because if people are tagging you, you want to show them that you see them, that you're recognizing that they're a patron of yours, and you want to share that to your stories and even comment on the post as well and say thanks for coming. Engaging with people when they engage with you is super important on social media. Especially if they ever comment, reply to the comments, say thank you, say whatever. Like I said, the whole point is to kind of create that connection and create that community. And so having conversations on social media is one of the biggest benefits and the biggest way to create really loyal customers, because they have a good interaction with you through a conversation on social media. See that we're winding down time. I had more tips. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to wrap up?
What about negative social media now that you just said that?
What was that?
What about negative, something negative on social media that gets posted? How do you address something like that?
Oh, if something negative gets posted, if something gets posted that maybe you weren't sure about, and then it turned out like people were mad about it, you always have to validate people's concerns. So if somebody says like, wow, I can't believe you would post that, validate their concern and say, we hear you, we totally understand this was posted with different intentions. We're so sorry that it came across that way, right? So don't ever get defensive, and just try to validate, tell them you understand, and tell them that you didn't intend for the interaction to go the way it did. I don't know if that answers your question. It kind of is case by case depending on what the person's mad about, but people want to just know that they were heard and listened to more than anything. So.
Yeah, we have about 3 minutes, but what I could do is create a way for everybody to send in questions and make sure that we have those ready for your next session, which I think is in 2 weeks, or but you will be coming back soon. So we can make sure, yes, July 27th. So we can be sure to have questions ready for that session.
Yeah, hopefully this helped you guys and just gave you some direction as to where to start, how many times to post, how to start planning out ideas. Don't be afraid to just start and try things. I know that's kind of the hardest thing, is social media can feel so much pressure, but the best thing you can do is to just do it, because it's not the end of the world at the end of the day. You can always delete posts if they don't, like if you aren't happy with the interaction. You can always learn from posting things and then nobody likes it, and then you like learn more and then you try something else. So just don't be afraid to try things and to keep doing it and to learn from what you've posted before. So that's my ending piece. People get so worked up about it, just don't get too worked up. So.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Erica. I learned a lot tonight, and I will be doing some of these things for FARRMS' own social media. And I will create maybe a Google Doc or some way, so that if you all have questions that you think of tonight, or right after we sign off, maybe 5 questions come to mind, send those in, and we'll make sure that Erica has time to answer those next session. Okay, well, thanks a bunch. I'll send a follow-up email later this week. And thank you so much for joining us, Erica. We appreciate it.
Great being here, guys.
All right. Well, have a great week.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye.